to the SP1200, the blue light bulb, to the board, the engineer's hands, and the limited well of patience. Hallelujah to everybody say ho, amen to all the ladies say ow. Thank God for make money, money, make money, money, and bless every hand that was ever put in the air. In your name we pray. God bless the cipher, the rotation. God bless the beatboxer's lungs, amen for breath control, the smiles that pry open faces when flow goes unbroken, and the smoke. To stories you can see, to coming in on the one. Some ideas, they shake you out of your sleep like when a toddler creeps. Totality of the deep, the mere thought of an unconscious manifestation carried out with the beat. Positive charged protons creating neural explosions. Time hiccups when fingers and pads touch. Dead air smiles because it knows what's coming. The countenance of the clock claps hands. The choreography of the knot slaps jams. And you be like, who made this? Vertebrae responding to the call so bad to make a B-girl curve the wall.
Welcome, everyone. You have myself, the Shark Anthony, aka Anthony Brown. I'm here and have the honor to be co-hosting Eats and Beats with Slimkat.
Yes, yes. Welcome to Eats and Beats. Yeah, I want to start the conversation off with continuing what we talked about earlier. We were talking earlier about just our backgrounds, man, and it's interesting about the dish and how it's inspired by your background and your current situation with your wife and everything.
Yeah. Before we get started today, I first just want to remind everyone who's tuning in, we are cooking a fusion dish. So it's going to be a little bit of islands and India. Personally, as a chef, I love to merge cultures in my cooking. So today we have a turmeric mashed potato and a roasted tomato jerk chicken. Before we get started, I would recommend if you are cooking now, maybe not, but get going with the potatoes. So I already have my potatoes boiling in the background. So yeah, there's a little bit about this dish here. As you sort of alluded to, Slimkat, my wife is from India. My background is islands, Jamaica. So I thought, why not, the second episode of Eats and Beats to sort of bring both of my worlds together. I would love to sort of even just chop it up with you a little bit more to see, like, what are some of your motivations behind the musics that you're going to be playing today?
Yeah, well, the influence, I guess the influence will be culturally, it'll be a culturally influenced situation as well. I got some Eddie Grant playing right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's from the islands. I found a couple of records not too long ago. I found this exotic sounds and melodies inspired East of Asia. I'll be listening to that, see if I can come up with something right there. I got some Bob Marley in there. And yeah, all of the stuff that I'll probably be taking from will be from these records. And just a little bit about myself. I've been collecting ever since I was 13. I believe my mom, she's a really good dancer, and she had music all around the house. And so, my mom had several siblings. She had about 11 siblings. So I would just go around their houses listening to their music, asking if I can have some of their records to listen to, take back home and listen to. And that's how I got started. And from there, I discovered hip hop music. I discovered that samples came from certain samples came from certain records. And that's how I started my journey.
Cool. It's interesting you mentioned, your mom was the inspiration behind sort of your career in a sense as an artist. For me specifically, you're a fan of hip hop. I'm born and raised in the Bronx. Hip hop has always sort of been in my DNA, but when it comes to cooking, my mom was actually my muse. She was my teacher. I'm from the islands of Jamaica, so it's actually understood that both men and women cook. So my mom was a chef, and my dad just cooked because he was around my mom. And as a kid growing up, my mom made it a point for all of our kids to have to at least know how to cook a few dishes, and it just stuck with me. And as a young adult, I remember living in New York City. I had to figure out, how am I going to save money? I was in the advertising space, and I was like, listen, I can't be eating out every night. So I continued sort of that love for cooking, and it kind of formed into me recording recipes. And it came to a point where I got to give a big shout out to Instagram, because there were moments where I would just post different dishes, and my friends was like, yo, Aunt, what is that? Could you send me the recipe? So I found myself constantly sending out recipes, and I'm like, you know what? This is some good real-time feedback. So with that, I decided to sort of bring this on a bigger scale. And again, going back to social media, I made it a point to share my dishes and do cooking classes in New York. So I would say about 5 years ago is when I decided to take cooking a little bit more seriously. And my wife is also a big proponent of just elevating my skills, because she comes from California. I come from New York City. So we come from two major, I would say, just states that really take in all types of cooking. So that certainly attributes my way of cooking and my push to merge cultures when I'm putting a dish together.
Nice.
So I'm going to pass it over to you before we get started, or rather keep going on the conversation. I'm going to make it a point to start on the chicken. So as I mentioned, we're doing a roasted jerk chicken dish. Sort of an inspiration behind the jerk itself. Jerk is Jamaica. So as you know, if anyone that goes to Jamaica, there's a few things that come to mind. You have Jamaica's beautiful beaches, reggae music, cannabis, depending on what your vice is, and then you have jerk sauce. Jerk sauce to me is like the barbecue sauce for the South. Staple. Whether it's 2 p.m., 2 a.m., you're bound to find someone on the street side cooking a jerk pork or chicken. So I have the chicken here. This recipe that I'm putting together calls for a serving of 4. So that involves, again, 2 boneless chicken breasts. And what I like to do, I like to cut my chicken breasts in thin slices, so that when I'm cooking it actually absorbs the heat in a better fashion, instead of using thick chunks of chicken. So that's sort of like the cheat code from when you're doing chicken in dices. Also, in terms of technique, I always recommend don't dice the chicken, grill it first or saute it. And once it's cooked, then you dice it out. The reason behind that is, if you dice chicken, especially raw chicken or meat, when you're cooking it, it actually releases the water and the moist when it's diced. So keep it tight, keep it together, and then after that, you make it a point to just cut it up in however fashion what works for the dish. So I'm gonna get started with cooking the chicken. In terms of what's needed to dress the chicken, keep it simple: black pepper and salt. We're gonna cook it on both sides of the chicken breast, 5 minutes each. And you can tell once the chicken breast is charred, that's sort of the cue for you to take it out. You don't want to overcook it, because we're gonna set the chicken breast on the side, and then we're gonna add it back into the pot with the roasted tomato and the natural herbs and spices. So I'm gonna swing it back over to you, Slim, to put on a spoon.
So we're just gonna get started. I got some music going here, and the process of me making a beat, it's really no method to the madness. I normally just find inspiration wherever I can hear it, in terms of just listening to sound. right here I have I've been collecting belly dancing records, so this is one of them here. I just got this recently, and so I'm just checking on here, checking for sounds. What do you see what we got on here? I usually start out with percussion first, and then I'll go back and find like a melody. You know, if I have a melody in mind, you know, I'll work the percussion out so they can fit that melody. Or if I hear anything beforehand, I'll start with the drum pattern and try to make it fit with that melody. So much looking for percussion sounds now.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but I know in hearing you say you're looking for percussion sound. So like when you're making music, what are some of the influences that you sort of turn to for inspiration? Because, you know, when I think of music production and hip hop, it's an art that was created out of nothing, right? We put a little bit of here, a little bit of flavor from there, and the same thing with cooking, right? So like, what's your process?
The process is pretty. It's pretty all over. It's pretty all over the place. I pull from. I don't like to use different genres, so I just pull from how rhythm patterns move, and that sort of kind of moves me. It gives me inspiration. Like if I discover a different rhythm pattern, and I'm like, oh, I like how that sounds. I like how this rhythm sounds. I like how this tempo sounds. And you know, I normally get influenced by that, and that kind of leads me into wanting to create a drum pattern from there. You know, so from there, you know, I think it starts with the drum.
Okay.
I think I always wanted to be a drummer. I'm not a drummer at all, but I think I always wanted to be one. I guess I was one in my past life. So here we go. This is nice. So I'm just going to take this and kind of sample it in.
So what are some of the instruments that we're hearing right now on this record?
This right here, I'm assuming this is these are some congas. Okay, it has some of the drums on here. The tabla, the durbeki. I don't know how to pronounce that, but the timpani,
Nice.
bongos. There's an oboe in here, electric violin, some clavs,
Right.
some finger cymbals, which is known in belly dancing. Finger cymbals. A lot of women who do belly dances, they have the finger cymbals with them and stuff like that.
So I know also when I'm thinking of just like, I know you're based out of DC metro area. Is that so like how would you describe sort of the difference between when we look at DC music and the production itself specifically, and then places like my hometown, New York City, and even, you know, I now reside in Los Angeles, where you know the sound is a little bit different. We could even make the case for San Francisco. So like, how are these sounds different in these different places in which, you know, we all somehow have a footprint in?
Definitely, there's definitely an acquired taste to the DC sound. A lot of the DC sound people know as go-go swing, but what is interesting is that DC and New York, which is the birthplace of hip hop.
Yes,
I like to say that they've tied into each other for so long. Like I believe that the hip hop, hip hop and go-go, they sort of were in communication on the earlier parts of hip hop because if you think about it, Salt and Pepper, they sampled go-go. LL Cool J, Rock the Bells I believe it was a Trouble Funk song.
Mm.
That's really early parts, early Def Jam parts of hip hop. So it's interesting to kind of put that together. And when I think of LA, I think of just like really good vibrations, high end tones, uh, like nice warm sounds, like a Fender Rhodes or something like that. Something
Right.
you want to listen to when you're sitting on the beach or something like that. So
Okay. I mean, in terms of what the records that you have right now, does anyone who's watching, tuning in, does anyone own the records? We'd love to hear from anyone who's tuning in right now. Or even so, if not, what are some of your inspirations in terms of music and productions? If we have any MCs or producers tuning in today.
right. Feel free to ask some questions. Definitely. I'll tell you, one of my heavy inspirations is Jay Dilla. Still is.
Oh yeah. I mean,
When I heard his stuff, it was just like, who is this guy?
okay. I think for me, I'm a New York guy. Dilla was Chicago, but I kind of missed the wave on him because I think in living in New York City, you kind of like, to some degree, you're in a silo because you feel as though a lot of who you are and what music is, it comes from NY, right? So it's like, and I think I said Chicago. I meant to say Detroit. My bad for all my music heads out there, but I think Detroit also had so much soul, right? Detroit epitomized soul, and he brought that to hip hop in a cool way. So when I listen to Kanye, I hear Jay Dilla. When I listen to Common, I hear Jay Dilla. So I mean, who are some of the folks that you worked from in the music scene that till this day you still carry some of the lessons in which you learned from those artists?
Oh man, I learned from a lot from so many people. I I had a group back in the day. Me and my partner Jay, we had a group called Chemistry, and in our early stages, we still were just trying to um, figure out sounds and figure out samples and trying to figure out how to create our own sound.
Right.
And, one time I ran into KRS-One, and KRS-One actually gave us the spelling of our name, and which was interesting. He spelled it KHEM, so it's KHE mystery, instead of just having it the regular way chemistry, it's Chem mystery. So and he gave us some gems, man. He told us to keep pushing, and later on I ran into Lord Finesse, which is he's a major producer in hip hop. He produced for Biggie. There's a lot of producers from DC as well. Chucky Thompson, he produced for Biggie too as well.
Okay.
So just running into them kind of cats, man. They really influenced me, gave me some decent game on collaborating with artists and stuff like that too.
Okay. Well, let's hear something. I know we've been talking about music for a little while. Let's get back into some of the tracks.
Okay. Yeah. Let's get back into it. Right now, I'm over here truncating a sound.
Nice. Or maybe so. What about Yeah, I was thinking. What are some of the Bob Marley tracks you have? That you were thinking of rocking out with today?
I got this album here. To be honest with you, I haven't listened to it. There's Chant Down Babylon on here.
Okay.
Buffalo Soldiers on here. Yeah, I'll take a listen to it. Soon as I get this percussion going, I'll definitely take a listen to it, see what we can find up in there. All right, we got that in there.
So I'm about to take the chicken out. I'm going in about 10 minutes right now. So the chicken is definitely brown, as you see, it's charred. So now I'm just gonna, after I take it out the pan, I'm gonna sort of dice it in different pieces and throw in some of my natural herbs. But continue to play your tunes, Slim.
Gotcha. All right. That snare is a little bit too loud. I'm about to bring that down, son. I think it's popping a little bit too loud. All right, here we go. A little rhythm going on in there. I think I want to speed it up.
Let's some speed to it.
Yeah. Let's see how these shakers in there. So let's see what we got on this bar.
So could you tell us a little bit about what you're playing next?
Yeah. I'm playing the Bob Marley album.
Okay.
I know the songs that I'm familiar with is Buffalo Soldier, um, Trench Town, Chant Down Babylon.
Yes.
So we're gonna listen through to some of those. Um, I never really sample a lot of Bob, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens here. Did you have that in the household down when you were small? You had any Bob Marley going on in the household there?
Yeah, I think for us growing up, especially in the Caribbean household, we listen to everything. Bob Marley, Gregory Isaac. Um, for me, my parents also listened to a lot of just like 60s and 70s, Sam Cooks of the world,
Yeah,
Luther Vandross. So we had a mix of everything. I also was born in New York City, which is like, the melting pot of music. But when I think of hip hop as my favorite, even art of music, I always hear Caribbean music, and that's no surprise. When we think of just the OG of hip hop, right? Cool Herc,
yeah,
from the islands of Jamaica.
from the islands.
Islands of Jamaica, so there wouldn't be no hip hop without reggae music. So I remember for me, some of the first sounds I heard was like Shabba Ranks, Yellow Cat, Super Cat. These dudes were actually rapping. When you hear their tracks, it's rapping. And the late Notorious B.I.G. The first track, if you're from New York, he was on a track, I believe, with Super Cat.
Yeah,
And
he was on Super Cat.
yeah, he was spitting. So like he definitely was welcome from the Caribbean community. Especially being in Brooklyn, where you go Flatbush, it's like little Jamaica there. So it's great to see sort of the merge of both sides of town. And by both sides of town, I'm also referring to the Bronx.
Yeah,
So Bronx and Brooklyn, the 2-5 trains for all my New Yorkers, you saw the clash of both sounds. And that was certainly what I heard in my house. At school, I played ball. So on the basketball court, 6, 7 o'clock, cats would bring their turntables out, and you would be like, what's that sound? It sounds like something in the 80s or 70s, but no, they were like sampling from some of their influences from childhoods, and these were musicians that I'm referring to.
yeah. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that stove on the camera. That thing look nice.
It's looking just right. So
That thing look nice.
in terms of I'm still cooking the raw spices. So the roasted tomato, I added that to the onion and the garlic mix and green pepper. So I'm gonna let that cook for about like 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. So we're just at the halfway mark, and then I'm going to add the coconut milk into the dish. So that's where you see some of the influences from Indian side, sort of the fusion. You're going to see a lot of sweet notes and more of a thicker and smoother consistency throughout the meal. So once the coconut milk is in sort of the mix, you'll see some of the influence that I just spoke to.
Right. Gotcha.
So, folks that also, before I get into it, I'm sure we have chefs, and I saw someone by the name of Irene speaking to some of her love for cooking. I know she was also one of our previous guests on the show. But what are some of the influences that sort of help you in sort of putting together your fusion dishes? For me, I always start with the raw spices, and then I mix that with some of the dry spices as well. So, I can cook a Thai dish where I'm using coconut milk, Thai raw seasoning, basil, and then I'm using like some Italian influences as well, like oregano. And I just like to mix it up. So feel free to, in our chat, throw in some of your influences and how you bring your meals together.
So I'm sort of taking this sample, and just like how you would slice and dice that chicken that you do,
Yes.
slicing the sample up. And then I got a MIDI keyboard on me, so I like to add a little bit of music theory to some of the stuff that I come up with as well.
Nice.
So by the end of this, we'll probably have some keyboard over top of the sample.
Irene, I'm just reading your message now. So you said you like a lot of chilies and cumin in your Indian food, and the coconut milk, even turmeric and ginger, which is sort of all the elements that I'm also including in my dish today. So it actually makes me feel good to see that you're also inspired by some of those raw spices in your cooking. And you know, when you think of Irene is Mexican, also I'm thinking like Caribbeans, like we used a lot of these seasonings because we didn't have a lot to work with. So, you know, one of my favorite dishes living out here in Los Angeles is like Mexican food. You know, I don't know where else I could find just as good food as, you know, a good authentic meal in Mexico. To some degree, I even find that some of the Mexican restaurants here in LA, if not taste better than some Mexican restaurants in Mexico itself. We're right at the border, so that there's no coincidence as to why this is the matter. But like, I'm Slimkat. Like, what are some of the restaurants and food that you enjoy on a regular? Do you find yourself in the kitchen at all?
I'm in the kitchen a lot. I like to experiment a lot. Like the other day, I I fried some oyster mushrooms.
Nice.
And I did a wet batter. I used almond flour. I did everything vegan. I used almond flour. To substitute for the egg, I boiled the flaxseed, made the gel, and spiced it up. Put some spices on there.
Great.
And it turned out all right. It tastes like chicken a little bit. So that was something that I got into. I I'm not really a sort of a traditional person. I like a bit of everything.
Nice.
I love Ethiopian food. I love Middle Eastern. Um, there's a restaurant out here. I think it's called Bombay Cafe, and they have really really good Middle Eastern food. There's also a Jamaican spot out here called the Grill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I eat from there from time to time. They have good jerk sandwiches and stuff like that. There.
Okay. Okay.
I like to travel into everything.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So, in preparing for today, I also was just going back and listening to some of your tracks. Your first, you had an EP that dropped out in 2010, and you recently released some materials. What was your evolution, over the last 10 years in terms of, the EP that dropped in 2010, and then, sort of what you recently released?
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that I used to put out when I was producing, it was just heavy samples. Like I sampled everything from a record. But most of my most recent stuff, I started learning because I started going backwards. I learned from sampling, and I started pulling from instruments. Pulling sounds from instruments, learning how to get around the keyboard, knowing how to get around the guitar a little bit. So that pretty much helped me. I mean, that sort of helped me with my progress. Later on, after I did my Sound Freakers release, it's called Sound Freakers Volume 1.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, after I did that, I started collaborating with a lot of musicians. There's one musician in mind who was the music director for Eric Roberson.
Okay.
Collaborating, and we funny story, we ended up doing a track for Eric Roberson. It's called Picture Perfect, and he asked us to come out to New York for the video. So when we were shooting the video, there's Fonte from Little Brother there, Eric Roberson is there. There's a chef who actually played the love interest in the video, Chef Aki. She's in Atlanta. I learned some tips from her about cooking. But that was the actual day of the East Coast earthquake. I don't know if you remember that. I was like in 2011.
Yeah.
It was the East Coast earthquake. It happened that day. We shot that video. It was fun times though. I mean, it was interesting because when we tried to call people on the cell phone, we couldn't get them. That was just crazy. That was the first time I ever seen that happen. We were in a warehouse very close to the water. So we could actually see, like the warehouse was sort of underground, so we actually see the pipe shaking and everything.
Wow.
It was interesting. But that was a great memory. Like that kind of let me know that, if you're serious enough, you can get some production placements and, make some things happen in the music realm. So
nice. Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm gonna let you get back into another tune, but before so, I just want to update those who are following through on the dish. So I added the coconut milk as I mentioned before. I also added a chicken stock and sort of mixed that in with a tablespoon of wet jerk seasoning. So for those following this page, the recipe will be on the website. You can also check out Word Beats and Life's Instagram page for sort of step-by-step. But after the chicken is done, was also working a little bit on the turmeric mashed potato. So the mash is already soft and done. So what I did while you were speaking, I added the butter to the dish, the turmeric, the cumin, and the coriander seeds. So I'm gonna mix those 2 or 3 in, and then that's pretty much your mash right there. So on a typical weeknight, it'll take you about like 20 to, I would say at most 30 minutes to put this dish together if you know what you're doing. So yeah, that's a little bit. And then just to close off on the chicken dish, it's, as you see, it's sizzling right now. One trick that I like to do, if it's a little watery, which it is in this case, I'll just throw in a little bit of cornstarch to help thicken the consistency of the chicken. And then I also, you know, if you like sort of a nice sweet hint to it, you can even drop a little bit of brown sugar. I would say a tablespoon of the brown sugar to also help to bring out some of the flavors. And one thing I also wanted to make anyone who's cooking, chefs, that what also helps to activate the turmeric is black pepper. You know, so my mom is always like, make sure you add the black pepper to the turmeric. It brings out a lot of the flavoring and salt. So that's just a little tidbit for those who are tuning in. So what's the next track you have right now? I should be done on my end in about 5 minutes. I'm almost done.
I'm just working out these chops. Working out these chops, and I'm just gonna add them to this to the beat.
Nice.
And I should be done as well. Add some of that music there to it.
You got Slim.
Uh-huh.
No, I was thinking also, do you have any Indian tracks that you could sort of blend in with the production?
Yeah, the percussion part actually came from a
Hey,
belly dance record. So it was like a traditional Indian Middle Eastern song.
okay, okay. Right.
Something like that. A little culture clash.
Cool. Well, I'm almost done on my end. I'm about to dress my plate.
Okay.
I don't know. Did you have any sort of are you still building on that track?
Still building on it.
Okay.
I'm converting everything into song mode now. So then I'll end up adding the magic to that after that.
Nice.
I had it at a 2-bar loop. Now I had to change it to a 4-bar loop. Now we can add the music to it. See how that was actually a little off key. Sometimes when you sample from a record, you might have it pitched a certain range or a certain way, and it's out of tune with the keyboard. So I'm just doing that right now. little strings in there. That's not bad.
You putting the final touches on that?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, well.
Okay. Nice little skeleton beat. We can mess with it. See how that sounds. Okay. Looks like we got a nice rough draft of a culture clash beat there. Little
Yeah.
influence in there, and the drums were sort of, influenced by the Middle Eastern style, tabla, stuff like that up in there. I see we got a dish going on here.
Oh yeah. We have the final product. So you have the turmeric mashed potato. Just to top it off, I garnished it with chopped basil. And to me, I really like the richness of having like a lot of the tomato juice, just flowing, and that's essentially going to be your gravy for the mashed potato. Instead of specifically using any type of, I would even say butter. You don't need extra butter in at all. I think there's so much flavor in that sauce. That in itself sort of makes up just for the smooth and tenderness that the butter will give it. But this is a weekday meal. Again, it'll take you about 30 minutes to put this together. It's one of my favorites. So yeah, there you go. That's the jerk roasted tomato chicken with turmeric mashed potato.
Nice. Looks nice.
So I mean, we have about 5 minutes left before we wrap up. I just wanted to know, like, if you wanted to play like maybe one track, your favorite track, or it's up to you. It's in your court.
Some stuff. Let's see. Actually,
and we still want to hear the finished version too of this track, by the way.
Oh yeah. Let's finish it up.
Okay.
Let's finish it out. I got the strings on there. Let's see if I can add any more stuff on there.
All right. Maybe I'm doing too much. Just finish the track and we can hear the finished product.
Track. Let's see if I can find some stuff in there. Put some marimbas in there because I know marimba is sort of an island instrument. You have it.
Love it, man. Love it, man. Before we wrap up, though, I just wanted to say, if you're tuning in, please follow myself, the Shark Anthony on Instagram, Twitter. Also, Slimkat78 so 78er. Question: where did the 78 come from? My assumption would be
Yeah.
born.
Yeah, that was the year I was born.
Okay. And then also, you can also catch the recipe on Word Beats and Live Instagram page. It was recently posted, so please check out their website and Instagram for the recipe.
Peace, y'all.
And then I'm gonna let it rock out. Let's let it rock out for like another minute, and then we can close out.
Picture this. Underneath the margins, your words can breathe. Got your listeners tilting isosceles the way you holding volcanic quills, spitting decrees. Better believe with flows like these, you got gills. Screaming at daffodils or dreaming in mandrills, derivative of skills. You're built in the workshop, rocking with raw. Cause in life, the woodshed don't stop. It don't stop. It don't stop. Don't stop. Let's take you on a time jump, virtual zoom, bringing it back to Theodore's bedroom. These hands are passionately polysyllabic, putting the Jeopardy theme on swings. 10 dons giving predictions, balancing vibes like the sons and daughters of Ipwan. Ear to the ear to the underground, flicking off peppermint, fresh experiment. Let's go, El Premier Elemento. You gotta take your time, press your fingers to the line. Red man, focus your mind. And once you do that, you're at the front of the combine.